One Sunday morning, I walked into church and sat in the back, super excited. Sunday school was about to start, and the teacher was going to be former President Jimmy Carter. That's right, down in Plains, Georgia, when he's in town, he still teaches Sunday school. A couple of years ago, a friend of mine and I drove all the way down there to go to Sunday school with Jimmy Carter. And when he walked in, it was so cool to be in the same room as one of the presidents of the United States. He had some introductory remarks, and then he always starts his class with a prayer. But he doesn't usually say the prayer. He always has someone else say the prayer. And he asks if there are any ministers in the audience or any missionaries. And a couple years before that, I'd served as a student missionary in Saipan. And when he asked if there are any missionaries, I raised my hand. And he pointed to me and said, "You, sir, where did you serve?" And so I told him I served in Saipan. And he said, "I know where that is." And that was the end of our conversation, but it was so cool to be able to talk to a president. And there was another missionary in the class, and he asked that person to start the class with prayer. And then he went in and he taught a Sunday school class, and it was a great class. You see, Jimmy Carter, if you look at his presidency, many people will argue that he was a presidential failure. While he did have some major accomplishments, especially bringing peace to the Middle East, he started in as an outsider, and he never really built connections to get things done in Washington. People remember him for the botched attempt to rescue the hostages in Iran. People remember him for the long gas lines and the lackluster economy. And Jimmy Carter, who was a very good man, was not good at connecting with the American public. In fact, some of the times his goodness would alienate him from the American public. There were several major speeches where he said, "You know what? We're going through a hard time and we just need to suck it up, tighten our belts, and push through this." And while his speech sounded more like a sermon, there wasn't a lot of enthusiasm or hope. And that's what people want from their politicians. He once did an interview with Playboy, and he did it to try to connect with a base of voters that didn't typically value him. And in the interview, someone asked him if he ever had committed adultery. And Jimmy Carter said, "Well, yes, I have. I've committed adultery in my heart by lusting after women." And if you're a Bible scholar, you know that Jesus said, if you look at a woman with lust in your heart, you have committed adultery with her. And Jimmy Carter knew that verse, and he was honest enough to say, "Yes, I've looked at women with lust in my heart." But instead of seeing that as an honorable mention of the truth, he was made fun of. Either because they said, "Well, look at this prude," or because they said, "Look at this guy who's committing adultery all the time. He's probably a pervert, always looking down women's blouses and everything." And the interview really backfired on him. Many times as president, he would make tons of tiny decisions. He was a micromanager president, which slowed down the efficiency of the White House. And he always prayed about every decision. But unfortunately, sometimes he would pray again and change the decision, and pray again and change the decision again. So while he was an amazing man who had a character unlike no other modern day politician, he wasn't a very effective leader. When he lost his re-election campaign to Ronald Reagan, he went back to Plains, Georgia, and he remembers sitting in his kitchen just wondering, what's next? Like, I tried to make a difference as a president. The people completely rejected me. And what do I do next? Well, one of Jimmy Carter's favorite presidents was Harry Truman, who believed that you shouldn't profit off of the presidency. And so instead of looking at how he could make money as a former president, he said, how can I make a difference? And he started working with Habitat for Humanity. He started using his prestige as a former president to be a peace broker, to do peace talks, to try to stop wars and end conflicts. He actually won the Nobel Peace Prize after his presidency for all of his humanitarian work. And while Jimmy Carter's presidency is something that very few people look back on with admiration, the time after his presidency, almost everyone admires. You see, Jimmy Carter took what many politicians have seen as an abject failure, the inability to be reelected. And he said, you know what? I'm not going to let that hold me back. I'm going to go make a difference in the world. And now Jimmy Carter is in his 90s, and he still works on building houses and habitat for humanity. He has made it a personal goal to eradicate certain types of diseases. There's a guinea worm disease that affects people's GI tracts and is very painful. And he says, I'm going to outlive that disease. We're going to eradicate it before I die. What a great man. Many times in our spheres of influence, whether it's our family or our business or our community, we have certain benchmarks that we have to say, this is what it means to be successful. I need to get the promotion or win the election, or we have these goals, and sometimes when we don't reach those goals, it's very easy for us to chalk it up as a failure and to get down on ourselves because we're not making enough money, or we didn't do the right thing, or we didn't get the result that we wanted. When that happens, it's really important to look at Jimmy Carter's example and say, you know what? Some of our greatest successes can come out of our greatest failures. As president, his goal was to do the right thing, was to make the world a better place. It was to bring peace where there was war. It was to bring relief where there was chaos and confusion and pain. And while as a president, he wasn't very good at building coalitions and getting things done and making his dreams a reality, he did that after leaving the White House. You see, we're all going to fail. But the best of us get up from those failures and keep pushing on. I think Jimmy Carter would love the verse in Proverbs where it says, a righteous man falls down, but he will get up 7 times. Jimmy Carter has done a lot of falling in his life, but he's always gotten back up. Not for himself, but to make the world a better place. So the next time you find yourself with your face in the dirt and your pride hurt, think about Jimmy Carter. Your best days, your Nobel Prize, your purpose might be right after your biggest failure. You see, with God, there's no such thing as failure. There's just learning and getting up and going to make the world a better place. God bless.